what happens when these fools are exposed?
God, I love
they get a
these
get out
roads
of
in New
jail
Brunswick.
free card from the likes of Biden and Dr. Biden, his illustrious wife.
That's a podcast.
A new day, and we can only hope
Aren't
in
these
all
great
of us
roads?
hope and pray that people of America develop
I'm
courage
done with the snow.
like we haven't seen in
had
our
enough.
lifetimes, in a way that will
Go away now.
glorify the Lord first, as always, and give our children and grandchildren opportunities that we have sought for the last 2 generations to destroy. $36 trillion in debt, add $1 trillion every 100 days or so, and how can we look ourselves in the mirror? And so the final part of this week's show, I want to go over an important paper by a Midwestern doctor.
This is not fun.
Posted on his Substack
Thank God I got my
January
podcast.
19th. It is what we've learned from a year of vaccine shedding
New Brunswick,
data.
Canada.
And very interesting article.
Gotta love the snow. Not.
You know, all of this can be clarified if the government would allow for one thing, and that is a lab or
I
labs
don't
to
care.
do
I'm not
a simple
going any
test
faster.
whereby they draw the blood, they look at it through technologies we have already had, and then they determine if the spike protein is present. This would be easily solvable, and not only is the spike protein present, but which spike protein is it? And of course, the FDA heretofore, hopefully under the new administration, we're going to be able to get to it. But it's interesting that this data, and the first thing that I read officially about this was on FLCCC's website. There was a interview that Pierre Corey gave about the data initially a couple of years ago, and then a Midwestern doctor gets with Corey and they review the latest data, and it's really impressive, I think. Of course, we can't say for sure because they won't allow for the technology to say for sure, but looking at different things like antibody levels, if you draw somebody's antibody titers to see if it has how much of the antibodies they have to the spike protein that they have, and this is what I may have mentioned a couple of weeks ago. Over the last 3 or 4 months, after talking
This
to Pierre,
is how we drive in Canada.
I began drawing my patients' labs, and just a rough spitball guess, I would say that the average antibody level of the people that were vaccinated is on average 10,000. The lab does not go greater than 25,000. It just says greater than 25,000 is the highest level it goes to. And that's much higher. The one that I use from LabCorp is much higher than that use that I've found from Quest when I looked at it a few months ago.
Coming home from work.
But the average antibody level on people that did not get the shots is around 300. What's interesting is I think I found my 16th patient last week who did not get the shot, but their antibody levels are in the thousands. So Peter McCullough says anything under 1,000 is good. I think that makes sense. I say that I have 16 patients that have it. I believe that's the case. Once again, I would like to know for sure by getting the lab test that they won't allow for. But anyways, it's a surrogate marker, if you will. And so these 16 patients I've had have had multiple thousands. What's interesting, I would say, is their average is probably about 7,000 to 8,000, not over 10,000. These people that were shed upon who did not get the shot in their arm, but they probably got it shed onto them. And so I'm going to review some of Midwestern doctor's paper real quick. Numerous data sources now corroborate that the COVID vaccine shed in a consistent and replicable manner. And I think the first thing that led us to believe this was the case, not knowing that they had evidence that the lipid nanoparticles would allow for the exosomes, these things that we release when we get infections of different kinds, these what are called exosomes. They stabilize the messenger RNA or the spike protein onto that exosome, the lipid nanoparticles do, that are part of the shots, and then it is released by different things.
Light.
We've known for years now, 3 or 4 years now, that women through the
Driving past
exosomes
the
spread it
lake.
through their breast milk, and so we knew that was the case. But going back 12 or 14 years, they knew that the exosomes would allow for this. That's why, and in this good paper, it's a very long paper, it's like 43 pages long, they talk about 2 of the biologics that have exosomes, that have the lipid nanoparticles. They, in their studies, proved that this technology would do this. Anyways, not alarming, and not surprising. So this article, which is very thorough, I think the first indications, like I was starting to say, is that of women changing their menstrual cycles when encountering others around them that had the shots. And there were 3 or 4 articles that they referenced in this, and I wanted to go over a couple of them because they were astounding numbers. Bleeding and menstruation. Within 4 months of the vaccines coming out, so many reports of vaccine-induced menstrual abnormalities had emerged that researchers began collecting. A 2022 study of 14,000 women found 78% experienced menstrual changes from the vaccination. Another one, 2022 of 165,000 women found that 42% of them with normal menstrual cycles had menstrual changes from the vaccine, and that 71% of those on long-acting reversible contraceptives did, and 66% of menopausal women did. 66% of 165,000 women, the menopausal women in that group, 66% of them had problems. Very unusual. A 22 know that these shots interfere with the menstrual cycle because of the collection, many mechanisms, but mainly because of the collection of the lipid nanoparticles in the ovaries. So this shedding, there were many other parts of the article that showed other aspects of how shedding occurs and the impacts of it, bleeding, not just menstrual bleeding, but other bleeding abnormalities, and autoimmune things, and
My road grate.
being increased.
Plows don't
These
touch
lipid
this road very
nanoparticles and messenger
good.
RNA are not to be fooled with. Neurological symptoms from shedding, circulatory symptoms,
Stop snow.
immune suppression.
Have to get plowed again.
So fascinating article we will attach to the show notes. But with that, thank you once again for joining us on America Out Loud Pulse. Always one beat ahead. God bless America.